should Tennessee be panicking after the Joey Aguilar announcement? It has been decided that Joey Aguilar is not going to get that final year of eligibility. Now, pause if you want to try to, make the comparison to Trinidad Chambliss getting his eligibility. Two very different things. Chambliss had a red shirt that was very much ignored by the NCAA in their ruling and judgment. That's why it became a bigger thing than it needed to be. He's asking, I believe, for his 6th year of eligibility, where Aguilar's asking for his 8th. And Aguilar's only argument was rooted in the fact that he was going to get these JUCO years not be applied to his NCAA eligibility. And that's a much more difficult slippery slope, especially if you set that precedent for the rest of the nation in terms of all the JUCO players that are now playing Division I football. The question, if we bring it back to Tennessee, is now you are in, I believe, your 5th straight year of new quarterback play. So you've not been able to have any type of continuity, and that's not an uncommon thing in the sport, but it does present some challenges that I personally believe may limit the ceiling of Tennessee. And I think Oregon might be figuring that out. That's why I think Oregon's going to be really good with the continuity of Dante Moore for a 2nd year, because the best season of Bo Nix was the 2nd year of Oregon football. Obviously, Will Stein's not there. We could add all that context if we want. But Tennessee now is going to have another quarterback in George McIntyre or a true freshman step in, unless they magically get a transfer quarterback to step in just like they did last year. And I would feel good about it. And I do with Josh Heupel, of course. I would feel better if it was a veteran guy that's played some football. But at the end of the day, we've seen two very different sides of these first-year starters. The guys that have played a ton of football, I think Joe Milton obviously was not that great, but you had Hooker, you had Aguilar, and then Milton. Those 3 were the best performers in terms of quarterbacks in that system. But then you end up looking at Nico, and what's the difference between one group has seen a ton of football, and Nico was very much fresh into it. That's not to say McIntyre can't step in and play at a high level, but it may be more of a learning curve for a young quarterback to step into the system. And this is where I would say it's about a 6. I'm sweating a little bit. The reason why it's a 6 is because the rumblings between the fan base for the Volunteers has seemed to be a little bit more frustrated with a guy like Heupel. And so if they're entering the 2026 season with a little bit more pressure, a super young quarterback, I begin to get a little worried. You throw in the 9-game SEC schedule, 1 bye week. I start to get worried. That we'll make a whole video about Tennessee. This is more about just the panic meter, more about the Aguilar situation. But I am a little bit worried about Tennessee moving into 2026. They're once again replacing a couple guys in the defensive back room, a wide receiver who is very good in Chris Brazzell. They have good, talented guys. It's just going to be more difficult now. They don't have the continuity at the quarterback position.